Welcome to the show that takes up no more than 5 minutes of your time, but could help you gain massive real estate knowledge. It's 5 Minutes in Real Estate with best-selling author Shane Willis.
Hello, it's Shane Willis, Pensacola real estate expert, bringing you today's episode. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Actually had a nice relaxing weekend for a change. Worked a lot on Saturday. Wrote 2 contracts. Took a new listing. All kinds of fun there. But Sunday, I was able to schedule it up to where I didn't do anything. And it was wonderful. Of course, had to ride down to, if it's a no doing anything day, had to ride down to Joe Patty's. Got a couple of pompano, threw them on the grill, had a bunch of their shrimp steamed up for us, and of course the crab dip. Anyways, enjoyed some time with the family. Probably spent way too much time in the pool, but you know, that's what it's there for. It's the middle of summer. You would think I'd be doing this at night with them crickets going off. Anyways, I know you didn't tune into this podcast to hear about my weekend. Instead, let's talk a little real estate, because Saturday, when I was busy, and we, like I said, showed a bunch of properties, wrote a couple contracts. We were actually, as I had met with one of the clients that we showed property with, we went to, it was in Foley, and we went to O'Charlie's for a second to sit down, kind of do the pros and cons over the top 2 that they wanted to pick. And the couple beside us started asking questions about real estate. It always happens to me that way. And they were asking, you know, that they had been reading some about how real estate's starting to slow down. Because my clients had said, hey, listen, in 2 years, we may be making a different decision, so that, you know, we may have to go to a different area. And we were debating between the 2 properties, and it really came down to if that's even a possibility. You know, in 2 years, they're going to sell, then probably the one property that was built this year would be a better financial decision than the property that was built about 10 years ago or 11 years ago. So the couple beside, that's what kind of kicked off the couple beside us that actually asked about real estate slowing down some. They said they had read a lot that real estate was starting to slow some. And so it kind of triggered me a little bit to do a little research, figure out why they would say that, because I have a different opinion, especially the price point we were talking about. The house they're buying is about $160,000, so that price point is flying. Escambia County, Santa Rosa County, and Baldwin County. So I did a little research, and there was a few things that came up. I looked at some of the economists, what was going on, why somebody would think that. And here is one thing. This is what I wrote. As the real estate market continues to move down the road to a complete recovery, we see home values and home sales increasing while distressed sales, foreclosures, and short sales continue to fall to their lowest point in years. There is no doubt that the housing market will continue to strengthen throughout 2018. However, there is one issue, and this is what everybody's saying, hey, we're starting to see a slowdown, a downturn, a slowdown. I think people are getting downturn and slowdown mixed up. Are we starting to see a slowdown? Well, of course, 2 factors. One, starting to be seasonal. Anytime after 4th of July, we start to see a little bit of a slowdown. The spring buying season happened. But what happened in spring was a lack of inventory. I know I feel like I'm kicking a dead horse here because I've talked about this a couple episodes now. But it's a lack of inventory that is causing a quote-unquote slowdown. So let me read you what some of these economists said. Lawrence Yun, which is the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors, wrote, inventory coming onto the market during this year's spring buying season was not even close enough to satisfy buyer demand. That's why home prices continue to rise. So National Association of Realtors basically said, hey, we don't have enough inventory. That's our problem. That's why things are starting to slow a little bit. Sam Catter, which is the chief economist at Freddie Mac, said, while this spring's sudden rise in mortgage rates took up a chunk of the conversation, it's the stubbornly low inventory levels in much of the country that are preventing sales from really taking off like they should. Most markets simply need a lot more new and existing supply to cool prices. A lot more. So I've had some people ask me over this past week, hey, You keep saying that inventory is low, but if everybody that you is listening to you put their house in the market, inventory won't be low. Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. I like to think that there's millions of people listening to the podcast, but they're not. I know that. I'm not delusional. But at the same time, if everybody listening to this that owned a home decided to put it on the market, here in our area, we would still be a short supply. We just would. It's just the way it is. So finally, Alexandria Lee, the housing data analyst for Trulia, said this seasonal inventory jump wasn't enough to offset the historically year-over-year downward trend that has continued for 14 consecutive quarters. Meaning, we've had 14 quarters where we've had less and less and less inventory. If you remember when I was talking before about a certain price point not being enough, for those of you who listen to the podcast regularly, you know that about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was talking about the 300 to 350,000 mark in Escambia and Santa Rosa County being over 7.1 months worth of inventory. It's actually come down. I think I talked about that last week sometime, where we're back to 5.8 months. So we're back swung towards the seller's market. And I looked at the 100 to 150 and it swung under 3. It was like 2.6 or something. We're just not having enough inventory. That's our problem. As a buyer sitting there looking, we don't have enough inventory. Prices are going to continue to rise when you don't have enough inventory. They just are. So, if you're even thinking about selling, if you're even kicking it around, even if you're 60%, give me a call. Let's chat, because we need more inventory. We just do. There's buyers in waiting right now. I know I've got tons of buyers in waiting that are just looking for the right property. They don't want to jump on just anything, so they're looking on the right property. I can think of 5 on top of my head that are on month-to-month leases. They're paying extra month-to-month just because they're looking for the right property. I ran a search this morning because I got a new listing coming in Pace. So I looked between 160 and 190,000. In Pace, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, at least built after 94. There's like 9 active total. 9. We're going to be number 10. So inventory is just really, really, really low, and that's why people like the couple beside us, when they started talking about real estate, they said we're starting to see a downward drag. That's why. It's because inventory is low. That's why you're starting to see numbers come down a little bit, not in price, but the number of transactions. We just don't have enough inventory out there. So if you're thinking about selling, call me, because we can probably get it sold fairly quickly, as long as we prep it right. And we can probably get it sold at a little bit higher price than you're thinking. I shouldn't say that, because I've had some sellers come up with some interesting prices lately, listening to the podcast, thinking that they could sell their $200,000 house for $400,000. That was an interesting conversation. All right, that's all I got for you today. As always, if you're not subscribed to get the tips, tricks, graphs, infographics, get over to 5minutesinrealestate.com. That's 5minutesinrealestate.com. Also, if you've not subscribed to the podcast on your player of choice, get over there. I don't care if it's iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, whatever. Hit subscribe, give me a heart, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. If you hadn't got over to the Facebook page, I usually put these podcasts up on the Facebook page. The Facebook page is facebook.com/A-Strong-Purpose. That's the Shane Willis, the realtor. So I put other articles up, but I always put the podcast up as well. And finally, I always ask at the end of every one of these, I don't ask for any money, but if you found value in this or any other episode that you listen to, I do ask that you share it on social media. Have a great Monday.